All right, peace to everyone that's here already. Let us unceremoniously end this year. That would be the best way to end it, if at all possible. I'll be here till 10 o'clock, though. If I'm building too much and you're not ready for it, you come back later and do the knowledge. Email me. Don't forget to check the 5% Media website. I'm backed up on emails to students to answer back, so just bear with me. I'll get all that stuff done. I want to give you good emails and not just like just quick answer backs and stuff. Actually answer questions in good detail, give you good resources and stuff. All right, let me know whoever's online, willing to build. This is the last class of the year, so I like to go through one of my plus lessons, interactive planning, later. Right. Today I just want to give out a lot of materials, a lot of useful things. That way we can, shoot into this, new year with a bang. Okay, Jarrell, peace. We have a couple of people here. Jarrell's the only one to make knowledge born that he is here. All right. Okay. Quatis, peace, Quatis. All right. All right. Let me know, Quatis, Jarrell. Let me know how you see today's math. It's good. Let's just dive right in. I want to go through this plus lesson, but when this class gets a little bit more filled up and stuff, that way people that are actually taking the time to do the knowledge to it live actually get stuff for them. And you can ask questions as you go along while I'm building on it. see if it makes sense and everything to you. Okay. While we're doing that, there's a lot of stuff that we go over. They'll go over the some of the more crucial plus lessons that I focused on this year. Some of them that I taught, but I didn't really focus on. Maybe we could go through some of them if we had, as we take time. It depends on how we build and everything. All right. All right. So I'm going to just, since no one's throwing me anything, just want to go through some of the things I really focused on. Some things that aren't like typed up as plus lessons, but build it off. One of the big things that, and these are acronymed, so that way they could stay in your head, So like when I say B.E.A.C.E., whatever, if it sounds corny or whatever, the point is that it stays in your head, Um, whether I talk about the B.A.T. or the T.O.P., building your awareness in your square, build the awareness in your square, right? Plus lesson that I wrote, right? And again, basically trying to get things detailed. So doing the knowledge, instead of always trying to figure out the entire world, taking this knowledge itself first is like a figuring of the entire cosmos, and having difficulty with that, which is not really where it really is most useful. Taking that time to detail it with yourself, right? I'll get to those. Thank you, Jarrell Quatis. I'll get to that in a minute. Since I started about this, I'm trying to review these plus lessons and stuff, so we get an idea of what we can, and if there's any confusion or any thoughts you had in actually working on living it out or using it, any suggestions, whatever you want to add on to it, or any questions about it, it's okay to have questions about stuff that are taught long ago. There was absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the point of this plus lesson, which I emailed to you when you email me, is to take note of how you eat in the train. Right? So, it's really based on like what you take in, right? What you knowledge, and how are you moving? How are you moving this vessel? You know what I mean? The knowledge and the wisdom, and then now to what right, to what you read, and then to what you write. Right? Meaning, what are you taking in mentally? What are you giving out mentally? Right? What are the thoughts and ideas that you have? And these doesn't mean necessarily thoughts to other people. Like when I say write, it also could mean, although it could be the speech that you give others, the way that you speak, how you're speaking to yourself, the detail, the nature by which you speak to yourself, right? All of these things are crucial things, right? You don't want the world to speak really well of you respectfully, and you have a horrible way of speaking to yourself. You know what I mean? That doesn't, that doesn't really show this knowledge of self. You know what I mean? And then the last, though, because we're poor righteous teachers, how are you sharing, though? How is this being shared? And that doesn't mean just the overt teaching of things, you know, um, from mere, civilization, right? Don't no pork, no this or that, to the knowledge of self. Overt means outright, and it also means how you share with yourself, how you share with yourself. Right? So these things are important too. Okay. So when I build the B.A.T., that eventually led me into a particular focus of it, right? A particular focus of that plus lesson that is real big with me, is the triangle of power. Of course, dealing with the martial arts. So the triangle of power is a term I made up. It isn't. You won't hear a martial artist say that, but the triangle of power literally is a real thing. From the body to the punch. So that triangle that's created is something that's spoken about in Wing Chun, and that's where your power is directed toward the center line. So even though you're attacking the individuals, the enemy's center line, then you have your focus of power is also generated greatest in that same fashion. So this is the genius of it. You're hitting the weakest part, the center line, in the most powerful way by going to the center. And I like to think of that also as like thinking, if we take that into the plus lesson that I'm talking about, which I haven't written, so don't be thinking you don't have this or going to ask for it. It's really been just a plus build because I haven't written it down to be a plus lesson, because it's mainly philosophical. A lot of the plus lessons of writing that I've been teaching have been based on things you can do right now. Okay. The triangle of power also is the way that you're focusing your creativity. So you have this base of everything that you have, right? So you have this one tooth, this one into the two, right? To born what? To born that understanding. So the one, that foundation into the two right here, boom, right? So it's what you have, the knowledge that you have going into and living out as what? That wisdom. So when you look at your triangle of power, what are the things that you're doing the knowledge to? What are the things you're studying that are actually molding your creativity? Okay. These are the things that the TOP is really about, a more distinct focus and awareness. Once you begin to master the B.A.T., you then start dealing with the TOP, and that's an awareness of your actual creativity as a creator. That this is not, that creativity isn't just some whimsy, some whimsy that happens when conditions are correct. People always talk about the perfect storm, but all storms happen mathematically. They happen distinctly. So I want you to get into the idea that learning, testing, trying new things that are creative are things that that you can try. You know what I mean? That you should be trying, right? And getting into. Okay, and I'm gonna go back into these builds and the plus lessons. I mean, into the builds of today's mathematics you brothers dropped off. I could build more in the TOP. I'm not done. If anybody has questions about that, you know what I mean? Let me know. You know what I'm saying? We never are finished with anything. We can always go back. It's no problem. You know what I mean? Quatis, you said I see today's math understanding knowledge. I think you meant all being born to culture, right? The autocorrect ruined you there. All being born to culture as seeing the validity behind my ideas. See, this is interesting. This is interesting because that means that understanding is a test of validity. Very interesting. You can write whole things about that. Understanding is a testing of the validity of the ideas and freely expressing them in the way that I live. This is it. This is it. Because if you see the 3 is before the 1, so it's basically a retrospective understanding of the degree that you're giving me, which is very powerful. You know what I mean? A lot of times when the degrees are not in order, right? 3, 1, really all the 30s, right? 30, right? 3, 0, 3, 1. They end up being out of order. They're not in order when you read them as in that phatic system that we build with, right? The phatic system, you know, is the idea of numerology where you add the numbers together to get one sum. Right? So that would be just today, right? 31 is right. 3 plus 1 equals 4. That's literally the phatic system. So it's not, the father didn't make that up, though. Of course, the applications and the use of it is much different than a lot of the adaptations that the Pythagoras and others, because Pythagoras was really one of the main ones to do that, and took that. You know what I mean? Great understanding, Quatis. And then, what you want to do, as I always say, Quatis, what you want to do is actually in your journal, when you write this, write it down, because you need to have it written down in that journal. Go back to it. You also want to come up with some examples that may have happened for real, or just examples that are most likely scenarios in your life that this could be applicable to, right? And also where it fails. In other words, like when you're seeing the validity behind my ideas, what would that test be if you were dealing with working to understand the ideas and the idea actually showed that it wasn't a truthful idea, a useful idea, right? It's an interesting test, you know what I mean? Right? Because then it wouldn't be 31 born, right? It would be false, right? A false idea, and then it wouldn't work out. Okay. Jarrell, you said today's math is understanding knowledge, all being born to culture. The C is to observe and keep what is seen in mind. All right. Having a mindful awareness of domain permits forms the actions of people. Okay. Example, viewing art like graffiti through examination of truths conveyed. Amongst a dense array of characters and letters, subjective insight can be absorbed into the ways and actions of emotional control of observer and creator, becoming one and the same through experience. That's a lot to unpack there. The graffiti, dense array of characters and letters, subjective insight can be absorbed into the ways, actions, emotional control of observer and creator, becoming one and the same through experience. Very interesting. I'd love to see something written or explained, like even if it was like a video or something like that, of how this observer would understand art and then become one through that same experience, or one with the art, right? Yeah. This is definitely something that I have thought about many times. Of course, not in the detail of mathematics that you just relayed. Very profound, very, very useful, interesting. Self I build, yeah. Yep. RP, remembered imperfection. MF Doom. Oh man, so much to say about Doom. I might talk if you all are even interested. I could talk about Doom later, but my own thoughts about it. But a legend, a real legend, and epitomizes the breakaway of the music, from us making the culture and forcing our culture into the mainstream, as one thing, just one of the many things he did of his career. But there's a lot of things he did lyrically that had not been done, or were done by him in such extremity, such extreme intensity. Um, an evolutionary artist, that there's nothing that you can find. It seems to be nothing you can find that he invented. The sampling, the details, the battle bars, the dusty vibe, and yet it all adds up to something much, much more that becomes revolutionary. So it's the ultimate next generation artist. Ultimate. All right. Self I build, you also said the comprehension of understanding of my own self-awareness, knowledge, assist in making evident, born, the need for me to conduct my way of life mentally, physically, unrestricted. Good thing that you do when you build. Very good thing. I want people to notice that Self I Build does this constantly. He makes note of the word born. So when you're born in the degrees, that becomes part of the function of the actual statement of understanding that he's sharing. That's very profound, because the whole point of this is not that this is a mathematical equation that absolutely uh, proves itself automatically. It's the way that you analyze it and use it. These true principles, the way that you're putting together, and it's always important to note that the born is not an absolute mathematical reality. It is one that you create by supporting it, with insights. Is you make it very evident. Self I build, the use of born in there, and that's very. It also makes it very logical. It takes away a lot of the religious aspect that could happen with just borning them, and the born doesn't have a significant function. Just take note of that. Hey, peace, chat. The post I made. Yeah. I've been saying this a while. I didn't say this to everybody, but I wrote the latest book I wrote was on the last decade. I called it the Invisible Renaissance, and we're still in that. There's another word I have for what will come, but that's what I call this era, because it's so much happening that's great, and it's under the cover, right? Almost invisible. And for years I was there. I was the only one there documenting it. 2011, 12, 13, 14. There's nobody documenting this, besides those who seem to be graduating and became think pieces by 2015 or 16, like Rock Marcy and the great Sean P. But those words I said about doing those, it's true. That was these real moments in my career. At least two very distinctive moments. You know what I mean? Very distinctive moments with Doom. I'll build on it later. I think it's all of us, everyone that I see here loves hip hop like that. So I think analyzing some of the ideas though is worth it. But I've been listening to a lot of him lately anyway, because I've been writing a book on the Dark Ages, and much of it is already written for years, but I never was able to get it published. And let there be a lesson. Like I have lots of rejection letters. I have tons of rejection letters from all types of publishing firms, that rejected my materials and stuff like that. I might even include them in the book. That's a nice little fuck you. But we'll talk about Doom a little bit later. You know what I mean? I want to get you all ready for the new year with the plus lesson I have and answering everything that you got. We get into a rhythm. But Quatis, that's good. Yes, work on that. These are things you should always do. You don't always have to include them, but know that you should always be doing that. The real examples. You know what I'm saying? All right. Halftime said, to see the building blocks clearly leads to a lifestyle in which one is mentally free. To truly see the 32nd degree in one is to live in such a way as to be able to prevent it in one's day to day. Okay. You said to truly see the understanding wisdom degree is to live in such a way as to be able to prevent it. Oh, okay. Oh, you meant 31st degree. Okay, all right, okay. You had me, took me for a little loop there. I was a little. Let me give you the opportunity. Build on that a little bit more. I think if you took the time to clarify that, though, it actually could be really useful to the students. Computer decides to be slow and I needed to move on. What can we do about this? Okay. Only at halftime, I want to see how you see it, though, because understanding the knowledge to prevent yourself from grafting from the original. It's. I would like some detail so that way it doesn't become just a generic statement. It's a statement that we can't deny. You know. Yeah, it's a lot of good people, and definitely agree with you on Rock Marcy. That's great. That's great, God, that you've been keeping a journal. You know what I mean? It'll help you remember. You know, help you remember your father and everything. One thing too is when we lose a parent, though, we want to know their understandings. We always talk about memories or our feelings, but if we really want to do them, if there is something technical that needs to be done, you know, uh, get their understanding about things, their insights, their sayings, their clever aphorisms that they had, or their frane, you know what I mean, like their refrains and things, You want to get all those things, and it doesn't all come back immediately. You know what I mean? but it might, so you want to be ready to get them, you know what I mean? Honor them. But that's great that you're keeping a journal. Remember the journal, you write anything. You write about the books you're reading, write about the things in the books that you want to remember, which is often what I do. It's probably the reason why I remember so many things, because I spent a lot of time writing down what's actually inside the book that I thought was good. You know what I mean? So my required writing of about 25, which is not about, it's 25 pages a week. It usually is done, well enough, real easy. But yeah, definitely keeping a journal though will remember, it's a major tool in developing your ability to write your own history in advance. Okay? Right. To make devil, what must one first do? To make devil, one must begin grafted from the original. Right. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Some person in history smarter than me. Well, let's not assume that they're smarter than you, but they did say that. Okay, I'm hanging on every word halftime. All right. Peace, Luke Cage. All right. All right. Let me know where you're at. At halftime, I thought you were going to give me more. I'm waiting for that mystery god. Okay. One particular rewind of KOS for me has been a level of focus on what must be done to achieve a given goal, which causes me to avoid being thrown off by BS or adding emotion to the battle when a situation is cooking. Okay, I see that. Nah, yeah. Oh man. Oh man. Yeah, I didn't know what to wear, but with all the doom stuff, I was like, let me wear something happy. And the Bears is, the Bears is happy. You know what I mean? You know, you got the Bear CP, the C, CP93 rocking the gear. But I get that build halftime. It's very, very, very aware. You know what I mean? Right? But I like to see understanding knowledge as a retrospective act. You see? Because culture is something you live. And culture is something of what it is that you're living. It's not linear. And mathematics is not linear unless you take it rigidly like that. It doesn't always work that way. You know what I mean? So sometimes the approach to insight is not always in a linear fashion, but a circular fashion. I would like to think not in a backwards fashion, but certainly in a circular fashion. You know? But again, look, the reason I talk about the B.A.T., right, is that with those 5 things, right, uh, read, no, excuse me, eat, train, read, write, share. These 5 things are crucial when we think of the new year coming, because when you start to plan, no, this is the core of the planning. You're going to have to plan to be most successful. You're going to have to plan to the best of your ability and be fearless to the possibilities of failure. What you're going to eat and how you're going to eat. See, it's not just what you're going to eat, but also how you're going to eat. You know what I mean? How will you deal with the wrong foods eaten? How will you deal with the right foods eaten? You know what I mean? And so this is be planned. You know what I mean? And how do you adjust to the pitfalls or the mistakes? And how do you also gauge it? Right? That's why the eating is. When I say build awareness square, your awareness, you should always be gauging how certain food feels. You shouldn't, even when you have, let's say you're doing great, you're working out, you're eating healthy, you're eating right, and you have a cheat meal, right? Even this cheat meal, even if it makes sense that you just had it, it makes sense that you ought to have it, and it's okay. You still should be gauging how it affects you, and how you train. You know what I mean? And how you work out, or how you feel, or everything else that you do. You know, you can't just say, "Oh, it's a cheat meal. It's okay. It doesn't count." Everything counts. It's just how you're going to acknowledge how it is counting. Okay. Who knows? You could maybe change the cheat meal to even see. Even with me, I always try to get the most high quality cheat meal. You know what I mean? And if you're shopping in Trader Joe's and stuff, and really read the labels, and you'll get something cheap that is healthy, and so then you're looking at your serving sizes. You're looking at well, how much did I eat? Oh, this is great stuff, but maybe I ate too much of it. You know what I mean? You could even be eating too much of the good foods, like just your serving sizes are bad, and not dispersed well, or you're not eating calmly. You know what I mean? The speed by which you eat, the stress levels you have when you eat. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, if you are a Knicks fan or some shit like that, you know what I mean? Like you're watching, right? Things like that, right? But all these take into account that these are the moments people do resolutions and stuff. Why do they do resolutions? Look, you should be getting ready to start the new year really focused and have these planning things. Um, it doesn't matter if they get instilled tomorrow in the beginning, but because the good thing about this new year is that it starts in the weekend. Spend this weekend planning how you do things. You know what I mean? Like, even I told you, like, how I read, for example, right? I've already I will. That's a good question. Um, even when you know, I read 52 books a year. That's my mandatory thing. So once I hit 52, I'll lay off and read longer books that, and try to catch them up so I could finish them eventually. But and just read other things that I just find, more interesting. I mean, give myself some more frivolous books, I mean, books about comedy books, whatever it is, it's fun. Um, if that's the mood. Um, but in this time that I'm also getting ready for the new year, I also pick those books. I usually it's 7 books that are extremely long, except for one of these books, right? They're all in the 600 to 700 page range. So I break them up through the year. About 700 pages, that's going to give you about 15 pages a week. 600, between about 12. 500, you get yourself about 10 pages a week, and you can get it done. And if the books are shorter, it's only because they've been hard to read. I told you, like, you always break up books that you need to read, that you ought to know, the things that you want to know. But a lot of things that you want to know are really boring. You break those books up, okay? You break them up, and you read a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And in your reading materials and stuff, you also gift yourself with books that are easy to read, that are fun to read, okay? You don't have to just be reading and bouncing from some heavy history book that's difficult to follow, political history, for example, and then diving into a chemistry book. You don't have to always be doing that. Reading them, this is why the creative works, poetry, literature, all of these things should be balanced. They give you the template is also a thing to acknowledge, though. How you're absorbing words and how you're absorbing meanings, though. Okay? When they say people are a bookworm, it's usually people that are just very analytical and overly rigid. It's not because they're reading books, it's because they're reading only one type of book. So it has nothing to do with them being a bookworm. The cliches, if you really analyze it, though, the faults of that cliche, or the description of that cliche, is really because people just read one type of book. You know what I mean? And that's the key, right? Okay, let me go back. Let me go back. Kareem, that's a good question. Luke Cage, I see your comments about food. Stress levels when you eat, okay? What I'm saying is this, right? You can have the perfect meals and stuff, but sometimes it's okay to skip a meal that you would eat under duress. So let's say stress that would happen by eating. Let's say you don't really have time to eat, though, so you got to eat in a New York minute. Like you're on the run to do something, though, right? Pretty much with this whole Corona thing, though, I would think that every single meal that you would have to eat in duress if you're outside is all stress meals. So if you could, I would skip, and just let that. And that's why fasting is key. Fasting isn't just about fasting for that particular moment in your body. It's to develop the discipline to be able to voluntarily fast whenever a moment arises, though. Okay? Just like you're training to fight, you're not fighting when you feel like it. You're fighting when the fight happens. You're not fighting when you feel like it. That's why the great martial artists, when we have like injuries of some sort, we figure out a way to train through that injury. It's not always a tough guy thing. There has to be rest and relaxation with certain injuries. But with the majority of injuries, though, soreness, something slightly pulled, whatever like that, bruising, you know what I mean? Definitely bruising and things like that. You would have to still perform. No one would give you that leeway, right? No one would go, hey, look, I'm not really, in the kind of condition to fight right now. You know what I mean? That's not really how life works, right? Somebody wanted to get at you, you get at you. You got children though, right? Well, you don't get to decide when it's convenient for you to defend them, So that's important, um the stress levels too is also, if you have everything, let's say you're about to have your meal, You were comfortable. You're gonna watch something, right? Comfortable meal for me right now would be watching, let's say, The Mandalorian or something, right? And I'm comfortable, gonna relax and watch this, right? Watch a cartoon with the kids. What happens if I'm already dealing with massive amounts of stress? That's important to recognize. Okay, the general stress levels that you have are important to recognize. If you're angry about something, if you're pissed off about something, the foods that you eat, even if you construct a good meal setting, your mindset might still be affected by the stress you're generally dealing with. Now, it comes to a point where you have to eat, right? You can't just keep skipping meals because you're stressed or whatever like that, right? This is something, where you want to acknowledge it. You want to acknowledge that and then do something about it. Okay? That's what I mean by the stress levels. You know what I mean? It might not have anything to do with it. Also, it changes, right? Take note of the foods that cause more stress, cause more stress to digest, foods that don't go down so well. You know what I mean? Right? Like, for example, apples might cause a lot of like that, they cause a lot of gas and stuff if you eat them too late because they're very diuretic. So you wouldn't eat these apples at night, in the evening. You know what I mean? Maybe citrus fruits, for example, maybe eat those during the day. You know what I'm saying? So these things are important. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean by the stress levels when you eat. Right? Luke Cage, you said that's very true. Because I have a weakness for Big Macs. Big Mac. Oh man, Big Macs. Wow, that's a Big Macs got everything horrible in there. You got cheese, you got beef, you got beef. I don't know where it came from. Especially, if you eat meat, right? If you're gonna eat meat, though, think about why would you eat something that was said to be red meat but was collected red meat. That's what you're eating, though. Whenever you eat a burger outside, you're eating collected red meat. You know what I mean? It's a certain and if you think because nobody buys their weed like this pure, nobody does anything, you think that out of a whole batch of ground beef that all of it would be ground beef. You know what I mean? Come on. And if you don't feel right, that's great. I want you to gauge that. You know what I'm saying? See how you could replace that slowly. Maybe you get more healthier instead of McDonald's, because I say no fast food, right? And if you're stuck on eating fast food at any moment, don't try to get rid of the entire food. That's too fast. Get rid of the fast food version of that food. So if you're eating a burger in McDonald's, right? Try to get yourself try to make your own burger. You know what I'm saying? Right? You could, get a nice bun, make your own burger. Do your best to get rid of that. You know what I'm saying? Slowly but surely, one step at a time. You know what I mean? Right? And there's so many condiments that are included in these things that are bad for you that they can have a profound impact when you change them. So like that's why in the health protocol sheet, I had a section just on condiments, because if you get a better salt, you could be actually eliminating sugar, because a lot of regular table salts have dextrose in them, right? Yeah, I didn't say anything Supreme Freedom, but I was thinking about the Eddie Murphy burger. You know what I mean? Nah, get yourself a burger. You deserve it, right? Get yourself a real burger bun, right? But the thing is that get yourself something as natural as you can. Change the condiments. You know what I mean? The health protocol sheet. That's a plus lesson that I wrote up, though. If you email me, I will give it to you. Okay? And there are sessions this year that I went through the health protocol earlier this year. Doesn't mean I won't go through it again for all of you. It just means that I went through it. And again, these are things I teach all the time. So just because this year we started to regularly film and keep these Peace Course sessions doesn't mean that, I don't willingly repeat stuff. I'm not those people that go, oh, I said it in class such and such. You know what I mean? But yeah. So Luke Cage, you want to take note of everything you feel. You know what I mean? And look, if you're on your calisthenics hard, right? A little reward is good. The thing is, when you have a Big Mac, understand though that that is not a little reward. That is a gigantic reward. Okay, so it's going to have its effect. So again, this is what I meant by the level of reward. For example, I've accustomed myself to have a major snack. The major snack I eat all the time ends up being a fruit snack. So I love dried mango strips. You know, they got them at Trader Joe's, and they don't have any sugar. They don't have any dioxides to try to dry the fruit. So it's completely natural, but it's very sweet. It's very tasty. You know what I mean? And so I can get that feeling of having a treat every day. If I have a treat, it'll be something small. It'll be the servings. You know what I mean? The servings would be cared for. You know, but a Big Mac, that's the whole thing. The problem is that it's not a little reward. So it's a giant reward. You know, right? But supreme free. You said fake ass fast food media. Right. Right. So the health protocol self I built is I years ago I made, and it's always developing, it's always getting renewed, a health protocol sheet about the living foods diet that I teach. And again, if you email me, just email me, I'll send it to you and stuff. And then you can read through it though, and then develop your questions from it. Okay. All right. Cerebro7. Peace. Okay. Chad, you said I walked by McDonald's on the ground for 6 days. Nothing touched it on the 6th day. Wow. Someone dropped cake near the McDonald's and the cake was covered in ants. Never ate McDonald's after that. Hey, that's real. A lot of that stuff is really, really processed, man. And it's really fake foods. No doubt, no doubt, no doubt, G. You're welcome. Debo 89, Trader Joe's or Whole Foods. They're okay. Both are not official health food stores, meaning that everything in there is going to be designed like, let's say, if you're in New York, Health Nuts or Westerly Foods, they're not designed to say that these are the products that are most geared to health. You know what I mean? There's a lot of gourmet in that. In other words, they'll have expensive foods that aren't necessarily healthy. So they'll have like healthy vegan chocolate or something like this, and then they'll have like a really, really expensive chocolate. That's not necessarily a healthy food. You know, a healthy, cow's milk chocolate with regular sugar, but it's really a very expensive food. So it'll be wrapped in the Whole Foods. If you had to say Trader Joe's or Whole Foods, the easy answer is Trader Joe's, because Whole Foods will rob you. It just costs too much. It's not cost effective. The way you shop generally, because a lot of the other health food stores, it all depends on the area, and this is going worldwide. Use your Trader Joe's for everything daily. Everything special that you want that isn't in Trader Joe's, go get it in Whole Foods. It's that simple. So you could get really everything you need from Trader Joe's, and then the special items that they might have that you don't see anywhere else, then you go to Whole Foods. Because Whole Foods, man, you buy 3 things, you're $50 out. You know what I mean? So, like, for example, like, there's a lot of things in Whole Foods I like that, like distinct brands, because Trader Joe's has their own brands and stuff, things. There's not even food, but like they have like the Indian incense sticks, incense that I like. Westerly has it too, but since we're talking about Whole Foods, they have it. Let's say like their beauty products, right? The healthy lotions, shampoos, all this. If you want a bigger variety, they're there. But let's say if you like, I love the Dr. Bronner soap. I always use Dr. Bronner soap. If I want a different scent other than the peppermint, which is my favorite anyway, I would have to go to like Whole Foods or another store. So they would have less of a selection because they're mainly filled with their own foods, but very healthy. You know what I mean? But listen, there's no health food is not a magical food. Okay, if you buy the healthiest granola and they have healthy granola, you're still buying a food that has lots of sugar because that's how you actually construct a granola out of the oats. You're actually fusing the granola with the nuts and all of the other things that are you're putting in that granola, and they're mainly fused by molasses and sugar. So certain things are just gonna be more of a treat than others. But let's say, for example, like what's your treat? Is it a Big Mac or a hamburger, or is it going to be like something that could be somewhat nutritious, like granola? Granola is a good example because people think like granola is healthy. It is healthy, but I consider it more like a healthy cheat meal. Um, if you're gonna have oats to build, get bigger and everything, which I have oats like I don't have it every day, but when I try to bulk and stuff like that, like most of this year I was bulking. Early in the year, I was about 128 pounds, and now I'm 141. So the oats were something I had every day, but I had raw oats mixed into a protein drink. So, you know, you can get it cheaper in other stores. Trader Joe's has a decent price, and then Whole Foods and everywhere else is going to be more expensive. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about, because not everybody can travel everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Especially now, like, with the COVID out there and everything. You know, right? So I live near stray cats, raccoon, none of them touching it. I said if animals won't eat it, then why should we? Yeah, it's a good point. Good point. That says a lot. Yeah, Jarrell, sugar's something, come on, and that's why, like, I give the example of the mango strips because they're extremely sweet but have no added sugar. So what you do, and by the way, if you drink things and you want something sweet, where you'll be fooled with sugarless foods that have sugar is when you have a juice, 100% juice, because juices are pasteurized. That means that they hit them with intense, high flashes of heat to kill all of the bacteria, but it also kills the enzymes and changes the it changes the chemistry of the drink by ridding the enzymes into basic sugars. That's why, like a Tropicana, all juice, 100% juice, and a freshly squeezed orange juice. Let's say you get the best Valencia organic oranges, like not just cheap oranges. It's gonna have a thinner taste, and the Tropicana is gonna be thicker. That's because of the pasteurization. So if you're trying to cut sugar, one way to cut it though is to not really drink 100% juices or any of that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And again, you got to make that choice. You know what I mean? You got to work on that. If you have sugar, anything with sugar, the first thing to do is like do the math on it. Like not just reading the ingredients, but also making sure that you only eat a certain amount. Like actually being true to the amount you're going to eat. They say it's a cheat meal, right? When you're working out, you have a cheat meal. That cheat meal doesn't mean gorge. That cheat meal is a meal. So like you're actually supposed to count that too. So count how much you eat of that. You know what I'm saying? Right? And take note of it. Take note. I'd rather have you take note of how it feels and attack it head on with the goal of like, okay, this was no good. I didn't do it right. I'm going to do better now, than just to feel guilty about it and say, well, scrap all of this workout here thing. You know what I mean? That's not the way either. Take on being a pescatarian. I think pescatarian is when you only eat fish. It's the only meat you eat. You may still be eating dairy, so it's not a detailed description. It just means you don't. The only meat you eat, the only flesh you'll eat is fish, but it doesn't say if you eat dairy or not. So, so you could have a pescatarian that is eating dairy and a pescatarian that is not. So, measuring their levels of success or health and stuff is two totally different diets. You know what I mean? So a lot of these terms are incomplete. They're not really complete. You know, right? And let me show you. Let me look up how to do this. Yeah, if you're gonna have raw oats and stuff like that, what you want to do is have them. You can't do that with like thick oats. Okay, they have to be like broken down really well. Give me a moment here. Let's see where I have here the name of it. Yeah. So what you want to do is have the the 1 minute oats and stuff like that. If you take thick oats and stuff and you try to drink that, your body's not going to digest it, easily. So they have to be, the 1 minute oats that are really that are really broken down. You know what I mean? If you're going to have them raw and stuff. Okay. All right. But if you're getting rid of meats, though, I always advocate, and this is also my health protocol. I advocate going by the process. Don't do this raw. Don't just say no meat and then tomorrow. Some people can do that, but I'm not telling you to do that. Okay, right? And you're right, Chad. Pescatarian usually doesn't eat dairy, but technically that's not in the definition. You know what I mean? It's just often assumed and stuff. And yes, Supreme Freedom. That was my point that I was making. The freshly squeezed oranges would be better than the Tropicana. What I'm talking about is buying 100% juices. The corporate version. You know what I mean? If you're trying to lose weight, because then you might not be gauging the sugar that you're actually taking in, because you're not noticing that that's just sugar. But the freshly squeezed, that's great. That's 100. You know what I mean? 100. D-Boy, what's your build on having dogs for guards, home defense? I think that's great. That is fine. I know some guards I know one guard, he knows everything about dogs, training him, having him as, soldiers, how to love them, how to take care of them, all of that. And he really have them, be part of the family. I think that's great. If that's what you want to do, it's fine. I don't know too much about that detail like that. I'm not really a pet person. You know what I'm saying? I got children though, so that's what I care about. I put all the food and all the food I'm buying, everything that's gonna go to the kids. You know what I mean? But yeah, well-trained dog can be a great home defense. Absolutely, absolutely. I've seen it. I know gods that have it, and it's very possible. It's a good thing. Jarrell, that's peace. Thank you. What is your take on using raw honey or maple as opposed to sugar? Or should I just cut it all out? I wouldn't use maple. It's too sweet. All of these are raw. All of these are healthy. Maple, that's for a treat. You making a treat and everything like that. You're making a cake in it. You have your maple. Raw honey is great because it's therapeutic. It's healthy. It has so many benefits. But you will, you're gonna gain weight having honey every day. This is a fact. You know what I mean? And I love honey. I love bees. I love honey. I love studying and trying different honey. You know what I mean? Like most honey that you buy in the store when it's 100% raw organic, it's a collage of different organic honey that they're collecting from beehives. But when you become a real honey connoisseur, you're buying honey that is from particular bees of a particular type of flower, area of flowers. That's where you get your blueberry honeys, your whatever honeys, all these different kinds, and the different types of honey, the taste and everything. It's just it's a beautiful world to explore. And learning about bees in general, though, is great stuff. I got books on all that stuff, and there was one documentary I loved. I watched. I forgot the name of it, and I wish I could find that. Just gonna have to go looking through bee documentaries to see if it's the one. But the anatomy of the bee is incredible. They're incredible creatures. You know what I mean? Do But don't cut out the honey though. The honey should always be in your cupboard. Raw organic honey should be in your cupboard because it's good for your throat and everything like that. You know what I mean? And tastes great. You guys talk about honey though. I might just get some. I haven't had honey in a long time though. And that's because I train all the time, so I'm not really just trying to go beast on honey because I love honey. And I try to save it for when I could get a real distinct honey and not just like some collage of honey, which is what most people are getting. Um, do I recommend a particular multivitamin or supplement for a vegetarian diet or any must-haves? That's in the protocol, but off the head though, a multivitamin is okay. But if you really got B12, your B complex with the B12, that's really your go-to there. You don't always need it. You know what I'm saying? Um, the diversity of the diet. When you reach a peak in the diversity of your diet, then you'll be okay. But it's always good to have the supplements. Remember, supplements though. Let's keep it real. Supplements are extremely processed as well. You know what I mean? They're not squeezing oranges to get you, and crushing rose hips to get your vitamin C. It take you hundreds of thousands of crushed rose hips and oranges to get you just one canister of that of vitamin C powder that extremely processed. So when you get your nutrients as natural as you can, then what I like is like supplemental foods. I like the natural supplemental foods. So I love chlorophyll powders and stuff. Amazing Grass is my favorite company. Amazing Grass, that's my company. Um, I get all my chlorophylls from the Amazing Grass. I use the Amazing Grass protein powder. So um, when I decide to get use that protein powder, that's what I'm using. Um, yeah, dogs are the best for home defense next to a gun. I have raised dogs my whole life. My dog actually taught my son how to crawl. That's amazing. That's amazing. SP 793. Sun chlorella is more expensive. That's why I don't mention that. But sun chlorella is very, very powerful. Very good. Very great stuff. I never used royal jelly. You know what I'm saying? Not because I just never got around to that. Um, when you have royal jelly and stuff like that, you could always put those if you have it like the actual, um, the actual royal jelly and honey. You could mix that into your protein shake. That would be the best way. Definitely. All right. Oh, Quati's definitely gonna get into that. Okay, we're not going into the new year without doing it. All right. Okay. All right. I'll skip these dog questions. I'm sure one of these will be able to answer that. Right, right. But you always want to, Luke Cage. You always want to introduce new things when you can. Um, when you're training and stuff like that, like regularly, and this is the lifestyle. Um, there's things you're always gonna eat regularly. It becomes easier, all of that kind of stuff. But that's definitely something that always adding to the diversity of things. Different greens. Different grains, all of that. All right, peace, true self. All right. Protein pills. I've never had protein pills, but no pill absorbs like a powder because it has to. It sounds crazy, but it has to be dissolved first and then spread. So I don't know. I don't know. I've never taken protein via the pill. You know, I would say if people don't really like drinking protein powders, but I'd imagine that'd be a lot of pills to take too, right? You know, it's not like chlorophyll, because when you get chlorophyll, one serving of the chlorophyll in a pill is like could be about 4 pills. I would imagine with protein powder, it'd be like, I mean, how many pills you taking? Like 15 pills? Like it's crazy, Right? And Muchi, there's a vote for I hate dogs. Okay, I guess you'll be defending yourself with guns or in the hands and feet. Okay. Yeah, the mate. Um, Let me see. I forget the name of it. Yeah. The guayaki is the best. But also try guayusa tea, which is actually my favorite tea, actually, for training my training tea. Let me give you a link for that. It's good price too. Lasts your whole month. Yeah, these teas they have the same. They have similar caffeine effects like that. They won't be like coffee. They won't leave you jittery or anything like that. But they definitely give you that energy. So they're great. MSM. I'm not sure if I know what you're talking about. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never used that. You know, I've never used that. And like I said, again, I'm talking about like these things might be useful, but remember, you're dealing with something that's extracted, has to be extracted and manufactured. It isn't taken. Okay, so something natural, and then you buy a natural product of it. It is not actually from anyone's body or anything. It isn't extracted. It's actually reconstructed in the laboratory. So you can have a big problem with that. You know what I mean? It's very processed though. So you think you're having something natural, but you're having a processed version, a constructed version that can only be constructed via processing, of something natural. So, you know, I mean, it's not pure, but the chemical reactions and the work that they're doing technically make it that fit that chemical, that compound, 100% that compound, but it isn't purely derived. You know what I'm saying? Just like when you got vitamin C powder, that's not from any fruit. It's not from nature. You know what I mean? They had to construct that chemically. The final chemical is there's a good book. Let me see. Let me find the name of the book that has a really great detail of the vitamin process. Give me a moment here. It was in a book I read this year. So let me find. I make a list of all the books I read. Now, once I transferred to the Google and stuff, I didn't have to keep those book lists. I've been making a book list of every book I read since 2004. 2003, I should say. And since 2004, I have achieved my goal of reading at least 52 books a year. But now these books I have them up digitally listed. There we go. Let's see. This is the book I'm talking about. They have some great detail on the processing of how vitamins are made, among many other intriguing things that are in this book. Okay. If you want this book, just copy and paste that and email me. I have it. Okay. Good point, Chad. And see, Chad, if you're outside of your house trying to do something that you really want to do or have fun with life, it can't go two ways, right? I'm always out of my house, but I don't really have time to study. You know what I'm saying? And then you don't have the time to say, what is the type of home that I want? You want to actually be at your home. You want to actually enjoy your home. So these are things that's a great thing to learn. I hope all of us learn to make a better laboratory of our home and everything. It's always something I'm talking about. Man. Let me tell you something. Let me get into this interactive planning plus lesson, because after, and I'm just being honest, once we end this class though, all students is doing is listening to MF Doom. That's all we're doing. That's all I'm doing. As a collector, I have, let me see, I'll tell you, I have all of the Metal Fingers Doom's special herbs, 74 tracks. I don't even know how many MF Doom songs I have, like all the albums, songs he's featured on, even a couple of remixes, you know what I'm saying? Right? Remix albums, right? But so we could talk some shit about MF Doom, people always talk about where all the great poets and stuff. There it was. There he was, right there. Let me build on this interactive planning. I want you to explode in 2021. All right, let's open this up. Right. So Quatis, are you ready? Are you ready, Quatis? Go into this thing here. Right. If the home is not right, then you can't really study the way you'd like to. Yeah, I mean they're cheesy movies and stuff like that, but if you study the dancing and stuff like that, it's next level. You know what I mean? And just great stuff. Um, childhood hero. You know, we imitated. Yeah, I can't tell me how many times I imitated and worked all those moves. You know what I mean? And I have a twin brother though, so he'd be, somebody we'd be doing the moves all the time. You know what I mean? Peace, self I build. Anything you need, yeah, definitely. Email me. Let me know what you're doing, your progress, what you need and stuff. And just so you know, self I build, I'm up to the letter R. So I got through I'm up to the letter R. So the big letters of books are coming soon, but almost finished with that. And it's really helping me because a lot of great books I didn't even know I had. But let's get into this interactive planning though, okay? Now, it's a tough plus lesson. I don't teach it too many times though, because I don't think students are always ready for it. Okay, but I'm going to teach it now. And I'm going to share it with you now because I want you to actually see what I'm trying to do with this. The build is called interactive planning, actually writing our own history. Okay, right? All right, let's see. Give me a moment here. Now, I haven't taught this plus lesson in years, so I might have some typos that I notice as I go along, and that's why I'm all stunted and stopping here, right? Um, but when it talks about that knowledge degree in the 1 to 40, when it says every time his history lasts for 25,000 years, he renews it for another 25,000 years. That renewal is the writing of the history. All right. He makes his history of crime equal to his home circumference by adding a year to every mile. That means that he is what? He is matching up the reality of what he will do with what he is saying will be done. Okay. And that is writing your history in advance. This is crucial. You know what I'm saying? This is crucial. You know? So now, I started this plus lesson with a quote from James Allen. He said, "You cannot travel within and stand still without." Whatever you're building in here, you have to do something to apply it outside. It's got to be, you got to have some kind of wisdom that's working. All right? Something's got to be working. All right? So the premise here, right? And these are some other plus lessons, so they might be out of context. You might not be familiar with them. The yearly theme of this course for this decade. All right, so basically, I put this in a series of plus lessons that I had written at the beginning of the 2010s. So one of them was work, one of them was understanding the next year, and then it was our works. Okay, and this is 2013, so it was interactive planning. Building with our supreme math daily is to focus on a principle that is potently applicable in the pattern calendar. Okay. Like that, we are turning our attention consistently to a crucial factor in development. Today is 31st. We apply a principle, we learn the principles of it, and we apply it to something that we are dealing with and developing. This year, that theme, and of course, I was doing this yearly, so that's why I'll adjust this when I rewrite this, though, so that way it's universal. But this was part of a theme. I'll do an updated one. But it was paired in. This theme is interactive planning, where with all the prior themes of years past, we'll supplement our actualization of the first degree in the 1 to 40. The work we put in will be observed and directed by our acknowledged perspective of ever-developing understanding, all culminating in our works that will be the building blocks to intricate planning of the culture of our days, a reality, a way of life that is interactive with whom we love, whom we share, and even against the enemy, obstacles, and immediate threats that are posed. Quote unquote, writing our history will not merely be a statement of arrogance, but one of determined sincerity. It is a willful adaptation to goals that we constantly test and scrutinize to be vital for ourselves and all humanity. All humanity, for as God and earth, and even the civilized man and woman, this supreme level of responsibility must be natural. It only varies according to the endowed birthright of the individual and the power they place into the determined ideas. Okay. Now, what follows is an overall framework that will become more and more detailed in lesson and assignment as the year progresses. Again, I made this to be taught as we go along, right? So, as first, as I was mentioning before, you have what starts with the decision. Using the build awareness square, right? Taking note of how you're eating, training, reading, writing, sharing, right? You're studying and acknowledging honestly your desires, wants, needs, and cross-matching them with intentions, principles, talents, and resources. Okay? All right. Then you have principles. These are also part of the decision. You're always developing understanding and your base understanding. In other words, the base understanding, right? That base, the initial perspective of sincere bias. Okay, this was something I built on a plus lesson. Let me break this down a little bit. When people look at how we build with stuff, you also have to look at what is the bias that you're going with things. So, we deal with understanding though, so we only deal with knowledge that becomes understanding. It doesn't matter. There's always a bias that goes into it. Now, the development is that you have a bias that becomes a proper base of knowledge. For example, with us, the knowledge of self is based on the children, the babies. The babies are the greatest. So now understand that our base understanding means that everything that we hear and absorb is in the perspective of how we would deal with them and how we could better them, how useful it would be for them. Okay? That's what I mean by the base understanding. Okay? Now, continue on this umbrella of decision. Study your works and the works of others as they all impact on this model of assessment. Then the consequences of the plan. Impact on others, right? What will be built and what will be destroyed. Okay? That's the second thing. What will be built and what will be destroyed. And then the repercussions over time. You can't write your history in advance very usefully though if you're not looking at it like chess, if you're not looking ahead of what's going to happen. Okay? You have to be able to look ahead to see how this will have an impact. And so, well, I don't know. It hasn't happened yet. The truth is that you have to do this regardless to whom or what. Because I said, for example, what is the base understanding that we use as perspective is the children. We always have to be planning ahead for them. So we always have to be thinking ahead to the possibilities. And again, I'm saying all this out here because you can rewind and ask me questions as we go along now. Okay. So after the decision of what you would do, what you want to do, what you want it to be, what repercussions you expect over time, what you want to build, what you will expect to be destroyed. Now you come to implementation. In the implementation, you have preparation, design, this performance. To work a plan is to engage focused direction as a lifestyle. Okay, this is why I talk so much about diet and everything. If you could do it for these things, then you could do it all the time. Do you realize that if you're constantly making the decisions of a focused diet, a focused training, a focused working of reading, a focused working of writing something or jotting down your understanding in the journal regularly, and that means that now you've already learned how to practice and develop the preparation for the performance of a plan. Now you just have to know how to implement it. Ultimately, one blends the worth of preparation and performance, worked plan and fulfilled plan, then one has founded a crucial principle of the righteous culture. Okay? Let's scroll up here. Write an exact prior. Is this plan correct? Is there a strong basis of proof, historical precedents that it will fulfill the objectives? Okay? In other words, you don't have to be reinventing the wheel. Okay? You compare and contrast, see what people have built, what they have done. Pre-plans, work and timing involved. How much will it take and how much work? Right? How much time will it take and how much work? Planning to make time And plans to prepare the work itself are often the work and planning that mold individual worth. Okay. Mastered performance. If the plan is to be greater at something, then does one's work directly engage in mock performance or as close to it to see results personally outwardly? Example, to be a writer in a publication, starting your own blog, you publish with deadlines and attention to detail required of any true published outlet. Meaning this, when you publish a blog, you could put it out whenever you want. It doesn't matter. But if you really want it, if that is just part of the development to the ultimate goal, then what you do is you practice what is missing from there. You make it more real. You put the deadlines in there. You make yourself achieve these goals. Okay. And that's the thing about it though. Much of the way that will be successful in planning is basically by having legitimate, expected, short-term goals from the days to the weeks and to the months. Okay. There should be things that you're expected to achieve daily. You have to achieve daily, and it could have a lot of failures as you go along. I told you my ultimate goal, right, of reading is 52 books a year, but my daily goal is at least 50 pages. That goal does not get met, and yet I still make the larger goal. Okay. So that smaller goal isn't the absolutely essential achievable goal, right? But what it is, though, is that it's a benchmark to say, listen, I could do more for this larger goal. And so I do, right? All right, now sacrifice. What must be given up, lost, and let go of to fulfill the plan? Something must be. Find it, judge its worth. Often the morality of a plan is learned here. Improve immediately. The plan must have immediate payoff. There must be a legitimate activity from research, learning, working, or training. Without such, the plan stays an idea and knowledge is reduced to information and possibilities. Sometimes a lot of people I know are great idea men. You have to get yourself out of that idea mode, and you actually have to have things that you start immediately. Like expect yourself to write some ideas in it though. If like let's say for example, writing a book is a large thing. Put the ideas in there. Okay, start plotting things. If it seems insurmountable, start writing immediately anything that is related to it. Putting these ideas together, okay? And then now, you use your resources, right? Okay. Now, after all that, then you have adaptation. The plan is going, but now things are happening. So you write originality check. As creators, there is no plan worthwhile if we merely race to be first disingenuously, or if we facade our works to meet the label of original. First is not the measure of original when it comes to the things that you create, okay? It's the quality of it, okay? You only rush certain projects if not rushing them is going to end up not having them done. So the plan of our works and the development of ourselves must be a unique act. Fraudulence within and the force to further it and refusal of adaptation may include major replanning is a devilishment that will be fulfilled. Okay. Take note of the reasons why you're doing this as you go along, whatever plan you make. Okay. Opportunity. Identifying and judging worth to all with new opportunities. Identifying new ones to blend in that make one's works or self greater. Searching for opportunity when expected and planned pathways are extant or obscured. Okay. There's going to be a lot of obstacles depending on how long that plan is. Okay. And now the last part, fulfillment. Okay. Fulfillment, those plans that contain infinite and finite activities. What part of this life in the plan will be continued? What has been done that will not be done yet must be learned from? How has one's culture developed from it? Then you also have proper humility and assessment from those plans that are clearly fulfilled, finite, judgment of self with arrogance, and new plans would leave out much of the necessary work. Judge too humbly, and future plans will be done with excessive requisites and breed a never-fulfilling plan of fear and complacency. Here's what I mean. When I rewrite this, that will be written a lot easier. do we judge what we have done with proper humility, right? Are we overstating our talents, or are we understating the abilities, right? Sometimes you could understate what you've done so that you don't have to actually engage in it or fix a plan that went awry, okay? That's it. This is a very concentrated plus lesson. That's why I read it and then I expect to hand it out and stuff, and email it to you, all right? So if there's any questions now, that's fine. If you email me and want it and I email it to you and then you get your questions, definitely send me your questions. But the whole idea though is having some kind of resolve as you make these plans and having a way of deciding what is really a worthwhile plan. Because when people make things like resolutions and things like that, they're not just failing because it's too insurmountable. It's just that the daily goals haven't really been fleshed out very well. So the long-term goals don't have good short-term goals. Or sometimes the long-term goals aren't really there very well. You know what I mean? Also, too, we deal with mathematics. Everyone should have some type of way of having a date book. Okay? And your phone, you should have these things where you're writing down the things you do, the things you expect to do. I write down all these things I expect to do as events. And when I achieve them for that particular day, they get a check. If not, they get left unmarked or not. I don't even always remember to go into my calendar. But whenever I'm going astray, it's the calendar that sets me back up again and has all of these things. And then some things you won't need that calendar anymore. You know what I'm saying? And some things you will. Right? So in this weekend, if you have this weekend off, you're trying to figure out though, what are the ways that you're going to live your life, right? What are the things you're going to do to study? What are the things you're going to do to develop talents, to search for talents, to try out new talents, right? See, I saw some comments here. I didn't answer these comments because they're not related to the plus lesson stuff. You know what I mean? It seems like a peace conversation about Shabadoo and breaking and all that stuff, which is peace. All right. My Asia Earth, peace. Anyone that's coming in and stuff, I'm talking about something, but you could always ask a question if you just want to know anything about, and just make note. I'm still stuck in quarantine here. With other family members, so that's why I haven't been at a law school in Mecca. Hopefully, I can get out of this pretty soon, But I've been stuck with quite a while this entire month, so it's been frustrating to say the least. But the planning, you know what I mean? And that's why I called it interactive planning, though, because the planning isn't just I have my goals set and then we're just going to go achieve them. You actually have to take, personal statistics of what you're doing, how well you're doing, and if it's a real viable plan. Sometimes people don't plan because they don't really know what's a good plan. Like they want to read, but they don't know, well, how much can I realistically read? Like, how am I supposed to say I can read this when I don't really have time to read? So, and then you'll make a goal that is terrible. You know what I'm saying? You'll make a goal that is really, that is terrible, doesn't have enough time, or it's too simple, right? So you have to build up your own mettle, your own strength, in making these plans as well. What type of things will you sacrifice? You know what I'm saying? Right? And truth is, certain things have to be sacrificed. You know what I mean? Right? Does anybody have any questions about anything? Not just the long plus lesson I just read out here. It's better left for you to develop your questions. Once once you read through that and listen to it slowly, and also email me about this or anything. You can email me, and I will get you that or anything else you need, materials for the classroom and everything. I feel your knowledge. That's P.E.A.C.E 793. All right. Yep. Definitely a blown. 7:30. You caught up. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, about anything. That was a heavy plus lesson. Now you know. For those that were asking, now you know why I don't always go through that. But it also links up with a lot of other things, and it was meant to be part of a whole thing. So what I will probably do with this is make a simpler one that doesn't need to be attached to the other. So it'll have to be longer to explain some of these ideas, and then you know, and then work it out that way. You know. But I wanted to share it so it's in the atmosphere, and you could go back and really work on it, and be precocious. That is a good question. Where can we find it's where can we find information about death and destruction, right? Hey, this is an interesting degree to study. This kill mad people in this one. Where can I get information about that? About all this killing, you know? I never took that. Honestly, I would keep it real. I never took that as a degree to go study as far as like historical basis. Um, because you're not going to find like segments of Islamic society that have it specifically in the details of their highest levels of government, where they have policies where, go get four devils and kill them and shit like that and bring them back. And, you know, this really had, I have always taken this degree as really understanding, you know what I'm saying? However, in tandem with the ninth degree, the way I look at this socially or socio historically is that governments and societies have had moments in time. Original people have had to decide what to do with the devil, right? Do we absorb them or do we completely shun them? So to me, I've always seen the ninth and the 10th degree as really battles of patriarchy, matriarchy and patriarchy. And it doesn't make sound like that, it's matriarchy, like no, sorry, but matriarchy is the idea of absorbing, in some kind of way, whether it's through distinct rules, absorbing foreigners, absorbing those who are outsiders to the society. So this would certainly, the ninth degree in the 1 to 40 would certainly be under that banner. And it's a strict one. You know what I mean? So you would have to find distinct populations that have dealt with that. Honestly, in my studies, I don't know if I found a population that was out there just killing like that off that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. You know what I mean? That would be really great research to find. Or I have found research, like, let's say, a lot of moments in the history of generations of the Mongol Empire. I have found that, but I can't say that it is directly that. You know what I'm saying? Because that they're not Muslim. They weren't Islamic. So to find aspects of like that in history, you can't find that where it was the individual culture that was violent and was actually societal, where they would actually trying to exile certain things that were not right. But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. It's just crazy, you know. Even as we get understanding of it, I have no elder has taught me that degree as an actual historical reference to absolutely find, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Mochi, I have never eaten that. No. Did you ever eat? Were you expecting, did I ever promise that I was going to eat that? I never have. I don't know if I intend to. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, just, technically it's vegan, but, I don't know, if I need that. Just weird. You know what I mean? It's weird. But no, I felt no need to eat that, I mean, I would, it's like powder you would buy it in. So, I mean, it'd be like, I guess, protein powder. Like I don't think you'd have it by itself, or you might mix it with other things, and probably has like the flavor of creatine or anything else. Yeah, but but it's they say it has decent health benefits, digestion, bone health, and all that. I don't know. I haven't seen, I haven't studied it too much. You know what I mean? Right, right. And when I read it out, and understand, though, it's working. It is. I expect you to be a little confused by it. It's very concentrated. I wrote this. When I wrote this, though, I had a lot of ideas in my head and stuff like that, and I wrote it as a plus lesson to be used. But when I was writing this plus lesson, like a lot of the plus lessons I wrote 10 years ago, um, I didn't want them to be just recited and followed religiously. So I had the tendency to make them very concentrated, you know. But I certainly will make one that is a little bit that explores the ideas more, so they become a little bit more immediately useful and understandable. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let me know what we got here. You're eating clay from mine in Utah. That is very really. I don't know. I hope. I let me know how does that help? How does it help? I would imagine that it would help your digestion if it helps at all. It would either hurt or help, right? You get a low high from eating clay. So this is different than the diatomaceous earth, right? Or is this, clay? I don't know. Right. Word 60, good question. Carbon dating. Let me try to explain it simple, which might leave out some parts, but basically it's a measure of the carbon that is in something. You know what I'm saying? And saying that if you could find out how that carbon has accumulated over time and the rate by which it accumulates over time, then you can subtract all of the carbon and find out an exact date of how long it's been accumulating carbon. If you know how long it's been accumulating, then you know how old it is. If you also, what Chake Dia realized was that if you find out how long it's been collecting carbon, you will also, by default, find out how much carbon was originally in it. And that's how he showed that the original man were those mummies, because that was the idea, you know what I mean? Like, to show and prove that those mummies were original black people. So that was one of his genius concepts, using the science of carbon dating. Okay, Muchi. Okay, I understand. It's the same thing. Okay, so it's clay. Okay, it's easier to say than that word. I don't know how to say it yet. But very interesting, though. I hope that does work out. Right? We can go back up there. Yeah, just reading the stuff you wrote there, chat, about the memories with breaking and stuff. Yeah, definitely. Appreciate the daily and continuous application of plus degree written back then. Striving whether you hit your daily goals or not, each and every way. Indeed. See, if you get in a habit of failing a daily goal, you'll also have it in the back of your head that there's always something to do, because one of the reasons that we stray away is because we forget about what we can do. You know what I mean? And just like it could take so long scrolling, it's so much worth in struggling just a few minutes doing something. You know what I'm saying? And now that's why I try to get you to have your books on your phone and everything like that, because instead of trying to also just put down your phone, look at your phone as a tool, like a small computer that you could travel around with. It becomes an invaluable tool, you know? Remember, all of these devices, though, weren't made for your fun. They were made for warfare. So this phone here was made for warfare. You know what I mean? Soldiers to fight with the mind, right? What's the longest chapter? By far, by nearly 3 times as much any the next largest chapter, but the largest chapter in the art of war. The largest chapter in the art of war is on the use of spies, the mental aspect of fighting. You know what I mean? Getting into the enemy's head, learning about the enemy's head. In this case, though, the enemy is already in your head. Okay? And what you were trying to do is trying to work out those kinks of laziness, all of that shit out. And if you could surround every area that you have and make everything a place of learning, then now nothing can push you out. You have a phone that has all the apps, social media apps and everything, but it cannot push you out because you also can scroll and you got all your books here, right? You have all the things that you need. You have places to write everything. So there's no way that they can shut you out. No way that you can shut yourself out. You work in such a way where you have no excuse to not try. You don't work so that way you have no reason to fail. You work so that you have no excuse to not continue to keep trying. Okay? Some people work and they plan so that way that they don't fail. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, and what happens is that they end up getting rid of the goal and they have a year where they don't really do much, but they didn't fail. Okay? That's literally a quality 85 life. That's a quality 85 life. What you need to do is start to realizing that you are failing every single day. You see what I'm saying? Trust me, some of the most productive days that you'll ever hear of, I've had. And yet in my calendar, all I have though is at least 5 or 6 failures. 5 or 6 things undone. You see? And I don't owe, and each tax, it might be so because they're small or not, but I don't go and say, like, no good. I continue to keep going to see if I can get it all in. You know what I mean? So these are all important. Yeah, most of these mummies, yeah, they're way past the 6,000 year mark. Yeah, absolutely. That's Peace Quatis. It's all there, so you'll be able to check it out. No problem. All right. Well, that's Peace. That's Peace 783. I appreciate that little add up. Mr. G1, Peace. Thermoluminescence is the way to date stuff. And also by way of diatoms. That is also possibilities as well, though. You know, we're not discounting other kinds of science. He asked me about carbon dating. I said how it's used and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Carbon dating still used for trees and things like that. You know what I mean? Right? But it's not the only way. Knowledge Allah, if we don't use all of this technology for that, I don't know what we'd be using it for. But they did not put a camera on a small, tiny device so that way you could take a selfie. You know what I'm saying? They put that there to steal information. You know what I mean? And why do you have a small device here that can actually save gigabytes of information? So that way I could actually be able to stream all my, the full 100,000 songs that I threw up on Google Play, Google YouTube, the YouTube Music app. Yeah, okay. That's what they wanted to do. It is turning out to be an idiot box. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's having the same effect. But think about it this way. All of these devices can be used, will become that. So we have to learn how to use it. And if you have children, what's the best way to actually master it? For you, teach your children is by mastering it and showing how you can use it really well. You know what I mean? So all of this is just really great. Listen, I'm a writer. I published almost 30 articles in about 2 months without a laptop or any kind of computer device, and I just use my phone. The majority of the books I've written and I'm about to publish, though, a lot of them have been written in here. You know what I mean? All of my shows, when I do my shows and you watch me in the podcast and stuff, all my information is here right on this phone in the detailed files and everything. So it's invaluable. Like this is what I'm using it for. So I have fun. You know what I mean? Like, listen, I got everything. I got YouTube, Netflix, TV. My cable's here, Hulu, Prime Video, HBO Max, Disney Plus. I got my Voodoo movies, my collection of Voodoo movies on Voodoo. I even got Tubi on here. You know what I'm saying? Because I saw that they had the G.I. Joe cartoon. I had to, you know what I mean? I ain't even watched. I got the NBC app because I saw that they had the old Miami Vice joints and the Incredible Hulk, so I took that. So I got tons of toys here, and yet I'm still making sure that this is what I do. So but a lot of times people plan their work. In this year, try also, instead of just planning the work you'll do. See, I do it reverse. A lot of things. I plan the fun things I will do, and then the work has endless time. I don't plan how long I will read. You see what I'm saying? I plan how much television I'll watch. That way, if I get, let's say I was saying earlier, I've been watching The Mandalorian. I only watch stuff when I'm eating a meal. I'll enjoy a program, and then maybe, if I'm tired, I'll keep watching it. But a lot of times, though, I'll cut off that program because that program will be on a timer, and I'll see how long it took me to meal, and then that's it. And I'll let it go, and I'll stop there, because all of these apps, too, they're like books. You watch a program. It ain't like old school TV either, though. So we could develop our discipline. If I can't finish a program, it keeps my spot. Ain't no thing. You know what I mean? If Netflix keeps your spot and then they take off the program, well, it wasn't, who cares? There's another program. There's all types of programs. You know what I mean? But the majority of the things you're watching, they're keeping your spot for you. You know what I mean? They keep your spot for you. And which one will you keep? The book you're reading or that? So it takes a discipline. What type of environment that you need? You know what I mean? Like for me, when I read, I need a proper music. So I'll take a little extra time to think about the type of music I need to read as quickly as possible, or really get into a zone. Reading is like, when you're reading books, though, it's kind of like when you're running, you know what I mean? And I don't, whether it's a sprint or it's a jog or anything like that, for your legs, you have to find the way you're going to impact, the way you're going to run, the way you get the most flex out of the muscle, and the groove. And it's a groove that you get into. How can you get into that reading groove as quickly as you can? You know what I'm saying? Are you going to abandon that book and switch to a different book, or are you just going to abandon reading altogether? You see what I'm saying? This is why I have you read different books. It's what type of groove do you get into? If I have time to read and I'm taking the time to read, I allot way more time to read than I say allot time to watch programs. A lot of times we're watching television and programs based on the time that the program lasts. So if the program is an hour, or it's 2 hours, we'll say, okay, I could watch 2 episodes or something like that. Why are we watching those 2 episodes? If you watch those episodes with diligence, like, yo, I want to finish this episode, then that's the way that you should expect yourself to read, to have that focus and diligence to finish a particular amount of reading. And if you don't read very well, then each day, each book that you read, make certain guidelines of how much you're going to read. Make those goals very particular, you know? Say you're going to read. So like I told you that I have very long books, 700 pages, 600 pages that or like a 400 pager that is still a little like boring. I break them up for every week. I have to read a certain amount, and it's about 7 books that I pick, right? And those 7 books each day will be one of those books. By reading that first book, those allotted pages, by the time I finish those allotted pages, now I am in the groove to read whatever other book I'm going to go into. You see? And if I really am into the other book I'm regularly reading, then getting past that weekly assignment, is going to get me faster and get my speed up. And and in the process, the required book even becomes interesting, which nearly always does happen. Right? But if we allotted the time that we take and the looseness of time that we give, the way we watch television, the way that we do all these things, we could do that with the way we're reading. Okay? With yourself, not me, with yourself, you should be telling yourself, if I just binge watched, right? I just binge watched. You went and binge watched Stranger Things, or you went and binge watched some other shit. You know what I mean? Then that means that you can actually have the time to read. You know what I mean? It's what you're focusing on. You know what I mean? And I don't care. Do anything. When I'm not reading well, I try to I change my seating position. I go get some tea. I change I often change the music. I do whatever is possible to continue that goal. If it doesn't work, then I do the other thing. I then go right. You see what I'm saying? But you gotta want it. If you don't want it, you don't get it. That's true, Quatis, though. You know, the Chinese Qigong, this is where they find all the ailments, the tongue, parts of the face, or for parts of certain organs and everything. So it gets very detailed. It gets very detailed when you get into Qigong as well. So that's a real thing. That's Peace, Jarrell. It's a good strategy of screenshotting things. All right. One of Spike Lee's very interesting movies, Bamboozled. Peer Block. I've never heard of that. Today's supreme map, the all-seeing eye, and its ability to perceive and realize is achieved through the 2 powerful physical eyes, studying and observing with the purpose of learning, and unquestionably. Okay, all right. The degree of something develops the fruits of knowledge and a way of life that is divine. Okay. Yeah, I haven't finished The Mandalorian. I'm on season 2. I go slow, you know. I'm pretty slow with everything when it comes to that. Hey, good for you, Supreme. That's good. It's good thinking. You know what I mean? I didn't tell you to go buy it. That's peace. Smartphone illiterate. I don't know why I couldn't go peacefully. Yeah, that doom was a real final blow, man. A real legend, you know. Well, smartphones, iPhones, whatever you're using, right? Funny said that. Never heard of that site. Third Book's website. Yeah, Quartis, that's not my goal though. 25 though, it's 50. But you know, you make a doable amount. You know what I mean? Something that is challenging, something that makes you sit down, something that makes you go do it. You know, it doesn't matter. That's just one example. You know, but as newborns, there's a lot of things you have to learn. So there's a lot of things you have to research, and you know, these lessons you got to read. They're not gonna make any sense if you know if you stay unread. Sometimes, Quatis, when the writing is challenging, though, take away the structure of the writing. You know what I mean? Say exactly what you're saying in your head out there. Just whatever's in your head, just say it, and do some what they call free writing. You know, Sean Price used to do that. So we talk about legends and stuff that we all miss and stuff. You know, Sean Price used to always tell me to tell you all that to do free writing. That's all he did. He did a lot of free writing. You know what I mean? And he used to always tell me to tell my students to do free writing. Just open up that journal and just write whatever comes to his head, you know, and that's where you get the Botswana, you know, and all that, you know. Oh, there's a lot of them though, but the best one is Z Library. Okay, Z Library is the best one. Okay? Spend your time getting the books there. You know, look up Z Library on the Google. You know, get your stuff there. Okay, yeah. Yeah, the God Supreme Scientist put me on that. There's a couple of other sites, but that one is the most consistent, easiest one to use, and it gives you a lot of stuff. You make a profile in there, and you get yourself 10 books a day. So it's great because now you have to think about what type of books you'll research for and stuff. Like what type of books will you look for, right? Oh, that's peace. That's peace. Yeah, I think it's real important to study the arts, study culture, and things like that. So I'm not trying to get you all to never watch television, stuff like that. I want you to choose television, the arts, whether you're reading novels, literature, a series on TV, a movie, um, comic books, whatever the hell it is. It's all, as long as you judge that to the highest level of art, you know what I mean? Like, and look for some quality, and be honest with yourself. Know what you're watching, whether it's frivolity or quality. You know what I mean? You gotta be honest with yourself. That way you can inject some quality in your life, some more deeper arts and culture, right? But you gotta watch. It's okay to watch this stuff. You're not cultured if you don't watch anything. That's not really how it works. You know what I mean? Let me get the exact site. And since we're talking about arts and culture, we're getting close to the end of this session. I'll let you guys and girls, gods and arts, civilized men, women, and children, till the next year. Um, Study some MF Doom if you don't know MF Doom. One of the most layered lyricists ever. And a lot of people dismiss Doom. And the thing is that he elevated a lot of the stuff that was being already lost. And one of the rare MCs to take what seemed to be basic battle bars, right? And construct an entire persona of charisma, of character, and principle based on it. You know what I mean? And honestly, he did. With that said, he did a lot what a lot of the Wu were able to do with their characters and personas, and bring principles to the fore. You know what I mean? But his way of layering rhymes and his wordplay are at the highest level. There's no way around it. You know what I mean? Highest level. In all the hundreds and thousands of albums I've ever bought. There's only a few that match up with him as far as like the cleverness of wordplay and the ability to layer them. You know what I mean? Yeah, all caps. You know, amazing shit. You know what I mean? Amazing shit. You know, and in the years where the beginning of the massive commercialization of hip hop, the dilution and the dilution of the music, where the pop MC is elevated as the truth, whether it's Eminem, whether it's Ludacris, whether it's T.I., lesser versions of the best are being up there as the best. Those are all lesser versions. 50 Cent, lesser versions of the best. You like them? You think they're great? They are still lesser versions of the best. And that affects the music. It affects all genres when that happens, though. Okay? Nobody goes 1959 and they say the white jazz musician. You know, we love Chet Baker was great, but nobody goes Chet Baker's, you know what I mean, over Miles Davis. Nobody says that. But in hip hop, that's being said. Eminem is here and there, right? And it's unfair to Chet Baker because Chet Baker was, you know, really dope, right? But the wordplay, all of the devices you could think of are in there. And also, too, if you listen to the Mad Villainy and why that's such a big deal record, you wouldn't notice this as a listener now, but you'd have to just throw in some stuff. The slowed speed at which he's rhyming and still being layered and not turning it into talking is also a big deal, because after that you get many of today's most lyrical MCs, they rhyme extremely slow. Like there are the amount of words per minute is very low. A lot of that has to do with what he did on Mad Villainy. And if you were following Doom from the beginning, from like King Ghidorah, Victor Vaughn, Doomsday, of course, Villainy is a massive shift. You know, you wouldn't know, people wouldn't know that unless they were there, unless they heard those leaked demos. And I heard the leaked demos, like they were slow, and a lot of people weren't really thinking it was going to be great. You know what I mean? And Mr. G1, you can't just be striving to make that determined idea of a creative course, right? Schedule. We've got to know that you're going to do that. So even by Monday, you will have something that you're going to use no matter what. You see what I'm saying? That's how you do it. By Monday, that whole entire schedule might not be done, but by Monday, you will have something that you are going to engage. You know what I mean? And that's the key to it. And then you add these parts as you go along. You know what I mean? Look at that. You guys are dropping stuff, man. I'm telling you, there's such, Doom came out. Doom came out when I literally quit writing for magazines. You know, I was so disappointed. You know what I mean? And when I said that, when I tweeted that and I shared that on IG about pitching Doom, he's not the only one, but I remember in 1999 pitching Doom to a major magazine, a person that was close to it, and that was working at this major magazine, and I was just a freelance writer, but they were on the move up, and they were supposedly my peoples, and they just gave me the you know what I mean, like that's not nobody's gonna want to write about that. And I'm sounding crazy. I'm saying this is gonna be something. This is the future. And I was there saying it's three guys. I'll never forget the three guys. It was Doom, Madlib, right? Because he just came out with Loot Pack and sound pieces of The Antidote and Thurston Howell III. And all those years I couldn't get them. It was 1999. 2002, I couldn't do it. 2005, he was already huge. And I remember being in that editors board meeting and I got laughed at, you know? So you're writing it all wrong. No, Thurston Howell the third, right? So we get his name right. Somebody will Google that. They won't, definitely may not get Thurston Howell. But yeah, the finest anti-rap snitch conditions, telling all the business. Get in the stand to be the own star witness. And you know, like as my first daughter was a baby during those years of Doom dominating, you know what I mean? So much that ingrained in her that she even bought me Food a couple of years ago. It was a vinyl, you know what I mean? As a birthday gift. Well, Thurston Howell's doing incredible. Madlib is a legend as well, and we already know Doom. You know what I mean? But all three of those guys changed hip hop, literally. Those three guys I mentioned, they changed hip hop, right? There's no way around it, though. Yeah. Where are we at now? My mouse is lost here. The three corporate, really not the corporate dudes, but the magazines. Though I'm talking about the big three magazines. You know, I didn't take it to individuals. I took it to magazines and stuff. And some of those people I'm talking about, they blew up. Let's just say that they make a lot more money in this music in the rap industry than I do. That's for damn sure. You know? Yeah, I love sound pieces, man. That's why, that's right. The Puerto Rican. You know what I mean? One changed production, one changed MCing, and the other one, not only did he add to MCing, but he made probably the biggest movement we have today in hip hop. Shit, I'm in the movement too. That's how big it is. I don't know if Just Allah did a song with Doom though. I don't know. But unless there are any questions though, if you're out there and you want to collect and stuff, start from. Since we're on this, I'll let you all go. Like, you collect. These are the albums you go get. You go get Doomsday, just because you got to start with the beginning. Then, if you got to get 3 albums, you get Food, Doomsday, and Mad Villainy. If you don't love those, I don't know what to tell you. Because if you get those, you're gonna want to get King Ghidorah, Victor Vaughn, and all of those other things, right? But you start with those juggernauts, you know what I mean, and you'll get everywhere else, Those will take you to the entire Doom experience, The best MC with no chain you ever heard. And if he had a chain, he'd still be one of the best ever. He's literally one of the greatest of all time. There's no way around it, Break Machine Street Dance. You're talking about this? Wait, wasn't that the name of the song on? They played that in Breaking, right? Oh, I mean, it's it's a kind of a dated song now and everything like that. So, I don't. It's hard to judge stuff like that. You know what I mean? But push the culture. You know what I mean? Show the breaking more. You know what I mean? Aye, aye, Captain. Hey, listen, word is bond, man. I'm about to let y'all go now, and if any of this basketball is still playing, I'm probably gonna listen to that and watch that and listen to Doom. You know what I mean? They always say he made a cult. I'm fucking part of that cult. You know what I mean? I'm fucking part of that cult. You know? That's right. That's right. And tell you, you never, and you won't hear, if you want to catch the vibe also of what hip hop was and the love of hip hop, right? If the love of hip hop and that whole, if you just want to catch the vibe of what it was to listen to the Stretch and Bobbito show, then listen to the entire Rhymes Like Dimes. I mean, that's how that vibe, and the excitement and everything, like, it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing. Legend. Wait, you said he Kareem. What about freestyle? You from Sunset? Are you talking about an MC freestyle? I used to know a freestyle from Sunset. What was it? Not. I'm trying to remember the name of the group. Roughneck Soldiers, right? Are you talking about Roughneck Soldiers? Roughneck Soldiers was a group from Sunset Park. They were dope. And if I remember correctly, Freestyle was one of the guys in the group. Yeah, I got to. But yo, if anybody email me, start this new year right. If you're having trouble planning, doing anything you need, you let me know. Okay. And I'll build with you. Okay. And play some Doom records in honor of Doom. All right. So with that said, enjoy getting into this new year with a bang. You know what I mean? Like, fuck 2020. Let's build this up. We're in hell already. Just because 2020 is over doesn't mean that we're not continuing in hell. So get in this though, get in strong. You know what I mean? And build strong. All right. Leave those works behind. You know what I mean? All right. Peace.